Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about, I think, a very big and important fight this weekend in Xander Zayas versus Jorge Garcia Perez. It's going to be live at the Madison Square Garden Theatre. And it's going to be the last Top Rank event to be telecasted on ESPN. So it'll be interesting to see where Top Rank now send their events. Obviously, Top Rank have some high profile athletes, so it'll be interesting to see whether they join the DAZN team or maybe they go over to Prime with PBC. I do tend to like when they're on DAZN because I think it's easier for people worldwide to access. Sometimes it's very difficult to get some of the ESPN ones, and sometimes it's hard to get some of the Prime Video ones. For some reason, they don't show them all around the world, so it'll be interesting to see where they end up. But this fight is very important because it's for the WBO vacant super welterweight belt. Pardon me. This is the belt that Sebastian Fundora vacated. He vacated it so he could face Tim Tszyu. Well, he said he vacated it so he could face Tim Tszyu. I think he vacated it so he didn't have to fight Xander Zayas. But everybody's opinion will differ. Now, let me give you a bit of a backstory to these belts. Now, Sebastian Fundora, he wins the WBC and WBO when he faced Tim Tszyu, coming in on late notice after Keith Thurman pulls out in March or April of last year. And gets those belts. He then chases fights for basically the whole of last year with Errol Spence. Everybody knew that wasn't going to happen, but he did that to make it look like he was going to be active. He then faces Chordal Booker at the start of this year, who I don't particularly rate, beats him, but then gets set a WBO mandatory against Xander Zayas. Just declines the offer, says I'll vacate the belt. He then calls up Tim Tszyu, who after their fight last year lost to Barkram in an IBF title fight and beat Joey Spencer earlier this year. So Fundora takes the Tszyu fight. This belt becomes vacant, and Xander Zayas is told that he's going to face Jorge Garcia Perez. Jorge Garcia Perez coming off a win against Charles Conwell. So that's sort of the backstory for this title fight. Now, I'll tell you who I think is going to win this fight at the end of the video, but I think that the winner of this one should be made mandatory for Fundora again. If not, I'd like to see any three of the combination sort of thing. I'd like to see Zayas or Perez versus Fundora, Fundora versus Barkram, or Zayas or Perez versus Barkram. Any of those three combinations, because in this super welterweight division, we're not really seeing belts being fought over to become undisputed. We've just been seeing sort of mix match of fights. Obviously, when Tszyu fought Fundora the first time, Fundora didn't have any belts. Fundora fights Tszyu, he didn't have any belts. I believe Tszyu had the IBF when he fought Barkram, but Barkram didn't have any belts. Now Barkram's got that belt and hasn't fought anyone. Fundora got the belt and he fought Chordal Booker, and now we've got a vacant belt. So I'd really like to see the best fighters in this division start to go head to head. But let's start with talking about Xander Zayas. He's a very, very impressive young fighter. 22 years of age, 21 wins, 13 knockouts. He's coming into this fight following a very good round 9 stoppage victory over undefeated German Slava Sporma. And Jorge Garcia Perez, he's 28 years old, 33 wins, 26 knockouts, 4 losses. He's coming into this fight following an upset April victory over Charles Conwell. It was a very narrow split decision, but it was a very good win for Jorge Garcia Perez, because I'm pretty sure Charles Conwell was quite comfortably a favourite. Like, it wasn't a close favourite. I'm pretty sure going into that fight, it was going to be the Charles Conwell show. Um, and Jorge Garcia Perez, although he fought very well, lots of the stipulations over that fight was that Charles Conwell didn't perform. But I think a lot of that also comes into play when the person you're fighting is fighting very well and you can't do what you want. The fight was very, very, very close. It no doubt could have gone either way, but I do believe Jorge Garcia Perez deserved that victory. And now he's going to take on Xander Zayas. This is no doubt Jorge Garcia Perez's biggest challenge to date. Xander Zayas, he's very young and not as experienced, which Jorge Garcia might be able to take advantage of. If he can make the fight sort of a messy, scrap, rough sort of fight like he did against Charles Conwell, he's got a chance of winning this belt based on his experience. No doubt the skills are there, but I think his experience will be the game changer if he can really make this his fight. Xander Zayas, though less experienced, I think is so technically gifted and such a good fighter. It's going to be so difficult for Jorge Garcia Perez to win this fight. I do believe that. I believe Xander Zayas is just exceptional. I think he's very, very, very good. And he's got some power in him as well. And he's one of those fighters that, you know, when people come up against him, there's no real where to hide. You know, when you come up against like Ryan Garcia, you don't mind standing in front of like that right hand because you know you've just got to stay out of the way of the left hand. Xander Zayas is just a rangy fighter that can hurt you equally with his left and his right, which is a danger for any fighter coming up against him. And for all these reasons, I'm tipping Xander Zayas to become the WBO Super Welterweight Champion. And I believe if he does, he'll be the youngest champion in the world right now. So that's big for Xander Zayas. And it's exciting to see what he's going to do in the future. He's definitely got the skills. And I think he can challenge Barkram and Sebastian Fundora for those belts and not look out of place at all. Obviously, those are three very different style fighters. Fundora, just a tall, rangy fighter. Barkram, a big, power-hitting, sort of Beterbiev-like fighter. And Xander Zayas, you know, that real light footwork, skillful, speed, and he's definitely got power. So it'll be a very good fight, this one, and I'm tipping Xander Zayas to win this fight. All right, also on the card, we have Bruce Shushu Carrington. He's taking on Matheus Hita for the WBC interim featherweight title. The winner of this will be seeking a fight with the WBC featherweight champion in Ray Vargas. Ray Vargas, he last fought in March of 2024 when he drew with Nick Ball, but is set to break his 17-month inactivity from an undisclosed medical issue. I'm still not sure what he had. I do know he had surgery, but I don't think his team ever actually told what the medical issue was. But he's been out for a very long time, and he's going to be facing Carlos Castro on a PBC show set to be in August, but no real confirmation on that. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we're very close to starting August, so not sure why any of that hasn't been confirmed or wrapped up. Maybe it has, and I've missed that. But the winner of Shushu versus Hita is set to take on Ray Vargas, you would imagine, providing Ray Vargas fights and wins his next bout. Shushu Carrington, 28 years old, 15 wins, 9 knockouts. He's taking on Hita, 27 years old, 14 wins, 9 knockouts. Shushu, now he's from Brooklyn, New York, and has been the North American Boxing Federation and WBO Intercontinental Featherweight Champion, as well as the WBC Featherweight Champion, and he gets the luxury of fighting at Madison Square Garden. For a New York boy, you can imagine that he dreamed of fighting at Madison Square Garden his whole life. So he's going to have not only the backing of the crowd, but probably that inspiration and that dream behind him of fighting at an iconic venue. I know it's the theatre, but it's still Madison Square Garden. He's taking on Matheus Hita. Now, he's from Namibia. He will be fighting for the first time outside of Africa as he travels into Carrington's backyard. Hita, he dominated the domestic African pro boxing scene, and he won and defended the WBO African featherweight title. So no doubt dominant within his domestic scene. But this is where the step up comes. Can he do it on the international level? Can he start to do it on the world level? Well, these are all the questions that are going to be asked this weekend when he comes up against, no doubt, the toughest opponent of his career. Lots of the time, fighters like Hita, we see begin to struggle at this level. Sometimes they shock the world, but lots of the time it goes just as expected, and I'm expecting Bruce Carrington to move to 16 wins in his professional career. On this card, we also have Emiliano Vargas taking on Alexander Espinoza. This is an 8-round super lightweight bout. Emiliano Vargas, 21-year-old American, very good start to his professional career, undefeated in 14 fights with 12 knockouts. And he's going to be fighting the 34-year-old Ecuadorian in Alexander Espinoza. He's got a pro record of 20 wins, 9 knockouts, 3 losses, 2 coming by way of knockout, and 1 draw. To be honest, this is what I would call a gimme fight for a young fighter still early in his career. I expect Emiliano Vargas to get through this fight quite comfortably. No offense to the experienced Espinoza, but I do expect a Vargas win. Look, sometimes we can see these veteran fighters really make it difficult for the youngsters, and on the odd occasion we do see the experienced fighter grab a win. The inexperienced youngster sometimes get a little bit lost, get a little bit chaotic, and lose track of the fight. It's all learning experiences for a 21-year-old, but he has been in a lot of fights, and I don't expect this one to be the one that troubles him. So I'd be backing Emiliano Vargas to win this fight. Alright guys, those are my thoughts. This is the event for this weekend. Obviously, also this weekend we have the Clarissa Shields fight, and we have the Garner Bellotti fight. So lots of fighting again this weekend. No major, huge events this weekend, but all these small fights and small events are equally as good. No real news today to talk about, unfortunately. The most news that's circulating has been sort of circulating the past few days. Bit of rumour mill, not a lot. I did see Lamont Roach Jr. talking about wanting to fight Shakur Stevenson. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good fight, especially with Lamont Roach. I feel bad for him. He's sitting on the sidelines not knowing what to do with this Tank Davis fight. And he probably feels hard done by because he thoroughly believes that he won the first one. Lots of people believe he won the first one. I have no real strong opinions either way. If they gave it to Tank, if they gave it to Roach, if they kept it as a draw, it doesn't really... I think it's so close that any of those is fair. I am a bit of a believer of you got to beat the champ to be the champ sort of statement, And when it comes this close and you're like, I'm not sure whether he beat him, I think a draw's not a bad option. And they're supposed to run it back, but who knows with that. Some other news that I've seen lately is Derek Chisora. He keeps talking about this Usyk fight. I saw him yesterday talking. I saw a quote of him talking about that he's happy to fight Usyk and he's happy to go to the Ukraine to fight him. I mean, the first one was enough. Like, I don't really have much interest in seeing Usyk versus Chisora. I think there's some good British fights for Chisora to take, finish his career off with. Traveling to the Ukraine to get pummeled by Alexander Usyk, I just don't see the appeal. Maybe he saw the fact that Dubois was getting paid like 72 million and Usyk was getting 132 million. He's like, well, I'll take an ass whooping to get that payday at the end of my career. Look, more power to him. I don't blame him if that's his angle. But no doubt, there's definitely a big British fight there for him to have in his home country that'll make him a good amount of money. Not the money you get from Usyk, but I also don't think he would be offered the paycheck that Dubois Or maybe he just wants that final crack at, you know, if I'm in there, I have a chance of winning, you know? If I can be swinging my arms, I have a chance of winning and becoming an undisputed champion, you know? All right, guys, leave your thoughts in the comments below about everything we talked about today. Like, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We're chasing down that 100 subscriber, and then we'll be chasing down 500, and then we'll be chasing down 1,000. Keep building this community. The engagement over the past few days has been absolutely brilliant. I appreciate all of you that give your time, comment, watch the videos, like, and give your time to this channel. It means a lot to me. So, I'm out of here, guys. See ya.